Hello learners, welcome back to the Discrete Mathematics tutorial series. I, Kirti Sharma, was working as an assistant professor in CSE department, St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management program. As per our previous discussion, we have already discussed about the algebraic structures with the one binary operation. Today we will extend our discussion by discussing the quotient group. Then we will discuss the algebraic structure with two binary operations that that consist of subtopics like rings, integral domain, and field. We will study or discuss them one by one. First, we need to cover the quotient group. Then, after we will discuss algebraic structure with two binary operation. So, quotient group. So, quotient group is just like if you have already studied like group, then normal group, subgroup, normal subgroup. So then after you can understand this quotient group. If you have not studied yet about the normal subgroup and subgroup, just to go through with the previous lectures in the series. Then after come back to understand this quotient group. Okay, so to understand the quotient group, it is important to understand the normal subgroup. This is a symbol to represent the normal subgroup. Okay, this one is a symbol. Okay, so let J be a group and H is a normal subgroup of G. Then you can say that the set G divided by H of all cosets of H in G together with binary composition defined by this thing. Okay, what it means simply quotient. What is the quotient? If you will not divide anything, how can you find the quotient? It's not possible. So here we are dividing the G group with the normal subgroup. That will give you the quotient group. Okay, so in order to get the quotient group with respect to the binary composition, here we are taking the multiplication operator here. Okay, so multiplication operator means just I'm erasing it. Multiplication operator we are taking here. Okay, there can be possible like plus operation, addition operation, or any other operation can be possible. To define the quotient group, here I am taking the multiplication operation. Okay, so we have already studied about the cosets also. This is the example for the right coset. A and B we are taking here as the elements of the group, right? And H is the normal subgroup. Then I'm writing this element on the right hand side of the normal subgroup HA, HB with the help of multiplication or composition operator. Then it must be equals to HAB, where this HA belongs to the G divided by H and HB belongs to the G divided by H. These are the group. Okay, it's a group. G divided H, of course, whatever you got here by G divided by H, that will be the quotient group itself. Okay, so it will be the quotient group of G by H. Okay, so I have already told you the operation could be anything. So in the next slide, I will tell you the some remark here, like if you have to use the addition symbol, right? If you are using the addition symbol at the place of composition, then it is also possible. If there was the like in previous definition you have seen HA, HB, it should be equals to HAB. Here the operation is composition, it means multiplication. Here I am taking the addition one. So what it means, H on the right hand side you are applying the plus operation, then plus operation in between each and every element and subgroup, normal subgroup. Okay, so after all, at the place of HAB, it is replaced with the addition operator H plus A plus B. A and B are the elements that belongs to the group G, and H plus A belongs to G divided by H group, and H plus B also belongs to the G divided by H group. Okay, so for the existence of the quotient group G divided by H, it is important, it is necessary even that H should be the normal subgroup of G. You can study the normal subgroup in the previous lecture if you don't know about the normal subgroup. Okay, so it is compulsory. First thing, for the quotient group, it is compulsory you are dividing the G by H. What it means, this is a group, this is normal subgroup. Okay, without division you cannot get the quotient itself. So if you will divide the group with the normal subgroup of that group, then you will get the quotient group. Second thing that you have to note it down, it is necessary that this H should be the normal subgroup in order to get the quotient group. Okay, so these two things are important. And one more important thing, operation could be anyone, right? It could be addition, multiplication, or any operation. Okay, so just make sure that if you're applying the addition symbol, you're putting the plus symbol here. And as you have previously seen that if you are applying the plus multiplication, then I'm taking here HA, HB as a symbol. Okay, so make it clear. Now we are taking an example to understand this thing very well. Like there is a quotient group G divided by H. Here also prepare its operation table also. G is a group here which consists of this set and operation is multiplication here, comma H is the normal subgroup which consists of this set. Two elements are there in this set and multiplication operation is there. Okay, so to understand this example, we have some solution part here. We have already studied in the normal subgroup. If any group is abelian group, then abelian group, or you can say commutative group, both are the same things. Okay, commutative group or abelian group, both are the same thing. If any group is abelian group, then directly you can mention that that particular group is also normal subgroup. So here H is the abelian group in the example that we have taken here, this particular example 1 and minus 1. In the first lecture we have already discussed this example. So 1 minus 1 element are there and H is a set here, a group here, and with the multiplication symbol. So it satisfies all the 5 properties of the abelian group. That's why H is the abelian group. If H is the abelian group, then it's 100% sure it's also normal subgroup. No need to check it out even. Okay, if any group is the commutative group or abelian group, then it's damn sure 100% sure it's also a normal subgroup. Okay, so I've already mentioned here it's a subgroup here. After checking it out, now you have to find the quotient group, right? First condition is cleared out, it should be abelian, then it's a normal subgroup, it's okay. Then next we have to find the cosets, all possible cosets. So according to the definition, just wait. According to the definition, if we are taking the multiplication system, according to the quotient that we have taken here, so multiplication is an operation, then it should be HA, HB, then HAB, right? So what about the HA? If I'm taking here A and B are the elements. So what are the elements here? 1, minus 1, iota and I minus iota. These are the elements which belongs to the G, as it is already mentioned in the example. So okay, so G is the group which consists of, here I am taking the rough sheet to give you more clarity. G is the group which consists of elements 1, minus 1, iota and minus iota with the multiplication operation, and H is the normal subgroup which consists of 1, minus 1 with the multiplication operation, right? So we have to check it out. Like here H and element A, what can we take here? 1, I'm taking here 1. So with respect to it, what should be the answer? Like as I've already mentioned here, 1 into 1 minus 1 into 1, right? With respect to 1, whatever is the element of H, all you have to apply the operation. What is the operation? Multiplication. You can represent by dot or multiply symbol. So it's okay. It's a mean is only multiplication. Okay. So what is the element of H? 1 is the first element of H. You are applying the multiplication with this element 1, right? Next element of H is a minus 1 and apply the 1. So you get answer as a 1 and minus 1 here, and it is H itself, right? This is the value of H itself. Okay, so first thing is clear that you have concluded here. Next, what we have here? H, second element of the group G. This is the second element. Then how you can compute it? What is the element of H? 1. Then operator is multiplication operator. I'm applying this as like this. Then minus 1 element that we are taking here. Then after comma, next element of H is the minus 1 multiply minus 1. So resultant answer is minus 1 comma plus 1. So what it is? It's also the h, element of h itself, right? I hope it is also clear. Okay, so next thing, we have computed these two things. The next one is h with the third element of g, that is iota. So what could be the answer? All the elements of, with respect to all the elements of h, you have to multiply this iota. First element 1 multiply by iota, comma minus 1 multiply by iota. Answer will be iota and minus iota. It's new. It's something new, right? What is there? Value of h is a 1 minus 1 and you are applying multiplying iota. So it will become equals to h iota. This is mentioned here, right? So we have completed this theory. And last one is 4. After computing it, you get the h iota is here, right? So what it mean? How many unique cosets you got here? There are 2 unique cosets that you received here, right? So what are those 3 cosets here? 3 cosets. 2 cosets are there, individual cosets h and h iota, right? So this is known as your quotient group itself. After division or after applying the definition, whatever you are getting here as a resultant, it will be your quotient. Okay, there is a definition of g divided by h that you have already solved it out here, and you got the 2 unique cosets here, h and h iota. It will become the quotient group here. Okay, so it was all about the quotient group. I hope it's clear for all. So next thing that we have to study is ring. So now we have to study about the algebraic structure with 2 binary operations. Okay, so first thing that you have to understand about it, it's a ring. Okay, so what about ring here? Ring definition of rings, the structure, normal binary Boolean structure that we are talking about here, are representing the set of elements that we are taking here. Here we are studying about the ring, so that's why I am taking here R. You can take anything for to make it easy to understand. We are taking here R. Okay, there are 2 Boolean binary operations we are taking here, addition and multiplication here. Okay, so I've already mentioned the topic is algebraic structure with 2 binary operation, and the subtopic that we are studying is ring itself. To understand the ring, it's important to write the 2 binary operation with the set. Okay, so its structure, this structure is the algebraic structure with binary 2 binary operations. So to understand the definition of ring, it's important here that this R should be the non-void set. As previous we have already studied about it, the set should be non-empty. Okay, so this should be the non-empty set. 2 binary compositions are there, like first is the plus operation, addition and multiplication. You can represent multiplication operation with the cross symbol or dot symbol. It is said to be a ring when it satisfies these 3 conditions. What are those 3 conditions? First thing is that this R should be abelian group under the addition symbol, and this R should be the semi group under the multiplication. First thing, addition, under the addition operation it should be abelian group. Under the multiplication operator it should be the semi group. These 2 conditions are clear, I hope, because we have already studied about the abelian group and semi groups in the previous lecture. So next one, it should be the distributive. So there are 2 conditions here that are compulsory to satisfy in order to make a ring. First one, it should be the left distributive and right distributive. Here mark one thing. Distribution is in some specific should be in some specific manner. What it should be? Distribution of multiplication operation over addition should be there, right? You can't distribute addition over multiplication. Here multiplication is distributed over addition symbol. So make note of this thing. Okay, so it could be the left distributive and it could be the right distributive. Okay, so both these things should be there regarding the distributive symbol. So if any structure is satisfying all 3 conditions, first R should be the abelian group under the addition, R should be the semi group under the multiplication, and it should be the distributive under multiplication over the addition symbol. Okay, so it could be the left distributive or right distributive. Okay, so all these three conditions must satisfy to prove that it's a ring. Okay, so it was all about the ring. Okay, some basic concepts are there, subtopics regarding ring are there that we will study now. Some points to note here. This is a ring R or with the two symbols like plus and multiplication binary operations, with the two binary operations. If you're taking R with the plus addition binary, then it is known as a additive group, and if R with the multiply, then it is a multiplicative semi group. It's okay to know, like I hope everyone is know about the group and the semi group. We have already discussed these topics, right? So addition symbol is satisfying the condition of additive group, that's why it's called additive group, and multiplicative satisfying the semi group. Under the semi group we have two things, closure and associativity, and under the group closure, associativity, identity and inverse must satisfy there, right? So addition symbol is satisfying the additive group as and under multiplication it is known as multiplicative semi group. Next thing that is important to mark here about the identity element, what it is you already know. Like if you are using the addition symbol and identity element you have to find there, then it is known as the additive identity first thing, and identity with respect to the addition symbol is what? It's 0. I hope it is clear with everyone. So it's called the 0 element of the ring. 0 element of the ring. Inverse of this additive will be if you're taking any element A and you're doing the subtraction negative of that A, then it will give you the identity element. As we have already discussed, if I'm taking any integer value 3 here, so what should be the, in case of the addition operation, what should be the value here to get the identity 0? Of course it should be the minus 3 itself. So if you are taking any A, so inverse of that A will be the negative of that symbol, that value only, right, to get the identity element. So inverse will be the negative of A, right? So in case of multiplication, what it will be? It's called unity, 1 E or unity of the ring. It was 0 element of the ring. In case of the additive identity, in case of multiplicative identity, it is the unity of the ring. Just make a note of this thing, it will use further in the integral domain topic also. So it is important to clear it out, the meaning of unity. Of course unity is representing the 1, and 1 is the identity element in case of multiplication operation. Okay, so if we are applying the multiplication operation in any set, then you have the identity element as a 1, and with it is known as the unity of the ring itself in case of unity. Okay, in case of ring. So multiplicative inverse will be the, for the non-zero only, it will be the A inverse. What it's mean? If you are taking 3 as a element, right, under the multiplication operation, what should be the value here to get the identity element 1? Of course it should be the 1 by 3. Thereafter you get the identity element. So you are taking A as a element, then what will be the inverse of this? 1 by A, in order to get the in identity element. Which kind of identity element? Multiplicative identity element. I hope it is clear for all. So next thing that we have to discuss over here is about the types of the rings. It's important to understand these types of the ring in order to understand the integral domain next topic very well. It's very important topic, so just focus on all the things. Do not ignore the any of the thing, like if you are getting understood, like already understand like what is ring, and you are ignoring the types of the rings and all. No, it's not good, because it's important. It's important. I have already marked here. It's important to understand this topic with these different types of the rings. So first one is a ring. So focus here and stay tuned with the content. Ring with the unity. What it's mean, ring with the unity? I already told you. Unity means 1. 1 is the identity element in case of multiplication only. So that is the reason if R is a ring with a 2 binary operation, it is said to be a ring with unity of its multiplication identity. That is 1, right? Of its multiplication identity exists, that is E is the identity element that belongs to the R such that EA equals to AE. I hope it is clear with all, because it's identity element itself. If you are taking A as an element of R, E is the identity element. If you're taking either its left identity or right identity, there must be the element itself as a resultant in case of identity, right? So if you're getting the 1 as the identity element, it is possible in case of multiplication operation only. So multiplication identity will be there, and this is known as ring with the unity. So this terminology is important. What is the ring with the unity? So make sure it should be clear with all of you. Like if I'm saying that ring with unity, it's already understood that we are taking the 1 as a multiplicative identity element here. That's why it is known as ring with unity. Okay. Next thing that is important here, that is commutative ring. What do you mean by commutative? Of course, a ring in case of multiplicative composition, it satisfy the condition of the commutative. Like if we are applying the multiplication operation A cross B or B cross A, it is a commutative property. If it is satisfying this property, if any ring is satisfying the condition of commutative with respect to the multiplication, then it is known as commutative ring itself. It's very simple to understand. I hope it is clear for everyone. Next thing is, we are taking some example to understand these things very well. Like first one, the set R consisting a single element 0 with the two composition plus and multiply. And if we are applying these two operations on this element, 0 plus 0, we are getting 0, and 0 multiplied by 0, we are getting 0. This type of ring is called as zero ring, null ring, or trivial ring. Mark this point first. Okay. Second point, if you have a set of integers for both the operations like addition and multiplication. Now I have just exchanged this R set with the set of integers, right? As previously we have already seen that thing, right? You have to take any set and you have to apply the binary operation on them. In previous set we have already studied with the one binary operation. Now we have two binary operation. Definition we have already studied about the ring. How can we apply these two binary operation on the set, right? So here set is the set of integer numbers that we are taking here. It's a ring. If it is commutative, it is a commutative ring. I'm defining directly here, it's a commutative ring, because on integers if you will apply the plus symbol, it will satisfy the abelian group condition. It's abelian, and under the multiplication it's a Sami group. You can do the cross check for this because it's already covered in the previous lectures. So it's a abelian group with the plus, and it's a Sami group with the multiplication. Next, it is also satisfying the distributive law also for multiplication over the addition. Why? Because multiplication symbol is very simple symbol. It's satisfying the associativity, commutative, and distributivity. So you can do the cross check for this also. So multiplication integers is commutative, and one more thing, with the multiplication identity element will be 1, and this 1 is the integer or not? Yes, of course it is integer. That's why it's a unity element of the Z. Okay, unity element of the Z, element in the Z. Yes. So here we have 1 as the unit element in case of multiplication. So what it's mean exactly? Actually there should be the identity element value 1 in case of multiplication operation. It's clear with all, right? So if we are checking this E value, is it belongs to the Z or not? Yes, of course it's also integer, it belongs to the Z. That means it is a unity element in Z. I hope it is clear. Similar to that, we have some commutative ring examples here. So make sure that if you're talking about Q, R, real numbers, this is rational numbers, real numbers, constants, and this is, I hope all of you are aware about this thing. This is modulo M operation here, right? So I've already mentioned to you Z is a set of integers, it's a subset of rational numbers, and it's a subset of real numbers and complex numbers and so on. So if the superset is like it's satisfying the condition integer, like satisfying the condition of the commutative ring, then all of them will also satisfy these things. So that's why I have directly mentioned here. In exam you may get the question on one of them. And so it's important from competitive point of view also, not only from university exam point of view. So make sure you are getting each and everything very well. So further more examples are there to cover here. Set of n by n matrices is if you have like 2 by 2 matrices is there, 0, 1, 2, 3, 2 under the addition and multiplication operation. over the matrices, then it's a ring with unity, because there is possibility of the unity this kind of matrices also, but non-commutative, because it a matrix changed the definition itself if we are commutating the operation on two matrices. If you are applying the multiplication on the two matrices like 1 3 4 5, if you will multiply and change the commutativity, so it will give you the different answer. That's why it's not commutative. Okay, so matrices are not commutative ring. It's they can satisfy the one condition, it's a ring with unity. Okay, so same thing with the algebraic structure with the integers, set of integers. It's also example of commutative ring with unity. I'm just extending these keywords just to make sure you're getting it very well. Like up to now we have studied about the commutative ring only. Now I'm adding it with unity. So integers under the two binary operation addition and multiplication satisfying the commutative ring property as well as with unity. So that's why it is known as commutativity ring with the unity. So make sure I'm not repeating the same thing again and again. I'm just extending the things. So make sure you're clear with the everything. Firstly, we have discussed individually commutative ring with unity. Now I am combining both the things, commutative ring with unity. So integer is that case which satisfies both of them combinedly. Okay, so it was the example for the commutative ring individually, commutating ring with unity. So we have some elementary properties here regarding the ring. So first one is A0 0A equals to 0. So in order to prove this property, we have taken this example. Like for the first one, if you're taking B as an element, if I'm adding any 0 in this B, so you will get B itself, right? There is no effect of this 0, addition of 0. If now I'm multiplying A on both sides, A by B and B plus 0, right? So I'm giving here the proof of these elementary properties, right? So after multiplication of A on both the sides, what you get here? AB equals to AB and A0. This will cancel it out. What you get here? One more thing here. If you will add 0 here with AB, so it will also not affect anything in order to satisfy the first property. As a resultant, you get the same thing. This is your first property itself. So it was a proof about the first elementary property of a ring. I hope it is very simple, clear to all. Next we have the second one, A minus B, this one. So in order to prove this property, what we have here, like A 0. I'm multiplying like A equals to 0. What do you get here? It's 0 itself, right? You multiply A with the 0. Like you have already solved this particular thing from first condition. We can directly put it over here, right? So if we were I am adding and subtracting B here. It will not affect anything, right? Answer will be same. So if I'm taking it out, A minus B plus multiplication over addition, distributive law, then A B equals to 0. Now I'm taking this A minus B and if I'm moving this AB on the right hand side, it will become this thing. I hope it is clear with all. A minus B is equals to minus AB. In the same manner, you can also clear this particular right hand side also. I hope you can do it yourself for the right one also. So in order to satisfy this condition, I'm just explaining this one also to you to give the more clarity about the concept. So if I'm taking this right hand side here, 0 B, B is any element I'm taking here, and that B is all B belongs to the R ring itself, right? So if I'm adding and subtracting A here, in the previous one for the left hand side I was adding and subtracting the B because of the left hand side proof. Now I'm giving the proof for this one, so I'm adding and subtracting A here. So what will be here? Minus AB minus AB plus AB equals to 0. Now I'm moving this particular part on the right hand side, minus AB, that is equals to minus AB. I hope it is also proved. Firstly we have proved this one, then after this one. So it was a proof about the second one property. In the same manner, you can prove the third one, fourth and next properties also. So I'm giving the proof shortly here. You just do the cross check and try it yourself also. I'm just doing minus a minus b, left hand side I've taken, and I'm trying to prove the right hand side, and you can do it yourself, like minus a minus b. Then you can write it as like this also. You can take this minus outside, then what will be there? Minus ab it will be, right? And minus minus will be plus, and it will become ab. I hope it is clear with all. It's very simple. Next property is fourth one. What is the proof of this? If I'm taking left hand side, a into b minus c, right? So you can prove it by taking like a, b plus minus c is like this and this one, right? After that, we can just multiply ab plus a into minus c, then it will become ab minus ac. It was all about this particular theorem only. Now you can do it vice versa, like if you have to take this one and you have to prove this one also, so you can do it. Okay, so for the last one, I'm giving you as an assignment, just take out the proof of this thing and do the cross check. Take the left hand side and prove the right hand side. Okay, so it's very simple, you can cover it yourself by yourself. Okay, so next thing that we have to understand about it is there are some special types of the rings that are available here, like zero divisors in a ring and without zero divisor. First you have to understand what do you mean by zero divisors in a ring. Basically, zero divisors mean if you're taking an element A, right? If you're taking an element A, that should be the non-zero element. Make sure one thing, it should be the non-zero, because for the zero, if you're taking zero and you're trying to find the divisor, anything divided by zero, it is not defined, right? From the mathematics point of view. So that's why it should be the non-zero. Okay? In rings R is said to be the zero divisor if there exists a non-zero B, right? If you're applying the operation like A multiplication operation B, then you have to get answer as 0, right? So after applying the operation, if you're getting the answer as 0, then it's a zero divisor of the ring. In a ring, it is a set, and this is a modulo 6, addition modulo 6, multiplication modulo 6. Two operations are there given. Right, so here 2, 3 and 4 are the zero divisors. Because of what? If you are applying the multiplication modulo 6 multiplication on any of the element of given set, so I'm taking it out 2 and 3. 2 3s are 6. 6 divided by 6, 0 will be the answer. So if you're getting the 0 as the resultant after applying the operation on two elements of the set that belongs to the ring R, then those elements are known as zero divisors of the ring. Right? Make sure. I hope it is clear with all. So from this example, 2, 3, 4 are the zero divisors in a ring here. Okay. So I've given that example here to make you clear about it. Okay. So up to now you are cleared with the zero divisors in a ring. How to find the zero divisors. Now it's time to know two things. First one is ring without zero divisors, and next is ring with zero divisors. You are cleared with the zero divisors concept. Now I'm telling you ring without zero divisors and ring with zero divisors. No need to confuse, just stay tuned about the topics, like I'm giving the clarity to you simultaneously. So just move ahead with the same thing. So a ring is said to be a ring without zero divisor if it has no zero divisors. So what it's mean exactly? Just take it simply. So what it's mean no zero divisors? If you have as A and B are the elements that belongs to R. Here you have AB. What it's mean? Any operation on AB, after applying any operation on AB combinedly, you're getting the answer as 0. But then there should be, it is compulsory, either A should be 0 or B should be 0. It's very simple. On mathematics also, you know, if you are applying any operation on two elements and you are getting the answer as 0, it is compulsory, like if either A should be 0 or B element value should be 0, then after you can say this AB is 0, right? So if you are getting this kind of situation, it has no zero divisors, then you can say that it's a ring without zero divisor. Okay, we will take an example to get the more clarity about it. Ring without zero divisor. There are such examples here like integers with the addition and multiplication operation, rational number, real numbers. These are the ring without zero divisors because there exists no two non-zero. Just focus on these things. There are no two non-zero numbers such that their product is zero. Operation, if we apply the operation on any two non-zero numbers, then after the resultant value, whatever is there, their product is zero. Right? There should not be any like this situation. That is known as rings without zero. Of course, if you will if you apply operation on the non-zero elements, answer should be the non-zero only. Then you can say ring without zero advisors. I hope it is clear. Now, what about the ring with zero divisors? What it mean? I'm taking here example ring with zero divisors. That means one thing, in mathematics it is not possible, like if you are applying the but here it is possible, like if you are taking here a should not be equals to 0. No two elements are equals to 0, but it may possible the resultant value after applying the operation in between those elements, resultant answer is 0. Normally in mathematics it's not possible, but here it is possible. How? Like example we are taking here, this is a set and this is the additive modulo 6, multiplicative modulo 6. If I am taking here two non-zero elements here like 4 and 3, both are the non-zero elements, I am applying the multiplication modulo 6 here, and after applying this 4 3 is a 12. If we divide by 6, what will be the remainder? It will be 0. That means if you are applying any operation on two non-zero elements, you are getting the resultant value as 0. That means ring with the zero divisor. In the previous one, what it was it was saying that if you are dividing two non-zero elements, then it will give you non-zero element as a resultant also. Then it is ring without zero divisor. Here it is saying that if you are taking two non-zero element, then as a resultant, if you are getting 0 itself, then it is ring with zero divisor. I hope it is clear to all of you now. So it's very important, take the rewind of the video. If you're not getting this thing clearly, you will make sure it should be the clear with all of you. Okay. So next thing that we have here, it's a Boolean ring. What is a Boolean ring? Like there is a concept of Boolean here. So Boolean is like just same ring we are taking here. It's called as Boolean ring if all the elements are idempotent here. What do you mean by idempotent? If you are doing a square, as a resultant you are getting element itself, right? There are two elements only in a set that you can say it's a set. This set is a Boolean, satisfying the condition of the Boolean ring for ordinary addition or multiplication itself. Here getting 0 itself. If you are multiplying 1, here if you are doing the 1 square, then you are getting the answer 0. 1 no element itself. So that's why in case of multiplication, that's why it's a Boolean ring. Okay, with these two elements only. It's a possibility for these two elements only, 0 and 1 only, to satisfy the condition of Boolean ring itself. So we have taken the two elements only here, right? So I hope it is clear. So it's very simple actually. Next is some cancellation laws are there in a ring. What are those cancellation laws? It's very simple in the properties, simple properties. We have already studied with the set theory also that multiplication composition is there that may or may not holds in every ring. Right? If A is any element that belongs to the R, A, B, C, all three elements belongs to the R, it's a non-negative, non-zero element is there. If you're applying any operation A with B, like multiplication we have taken here, A with C, then as the answer, of course, it should be the B equals to C there. If we are applying this non-zero number A with as like this, it should be the, it's like cancellation law. This A is cancelled by this one is this. Okay, but make sure you cannot show it directly here. This is an example only. This is a property. You have to give the proper proof about this if anyone is asking about the cancellation law in a ring itself. Okay, so it's a kind of proof for this particular, like it's a proof. like if a ring R is without zero divisor, it's a theorem itself that you can prove if and only if cancellation law holds in a R. It's a proof for the previous one statement that I've already told you. You cannot directly cancel it out from left hand side to right hand side. You have to give the proper proof of this that I have shown here. So you have to take the left hand side and you have to prove by adding some context in the with the left and right side both side, and you have to prove it with the help of without zero divisors. So it's clear with all of you, like if you have a ring R, it should be the is a without zero divisor, then if and only if the cancellation law holds in R. If cancellation law doesn't hold in R, then you cannot say it. So you can give the proof as like this. So make sure you're just going through this proof here. It's very simple to understand. You can do it yourself. Okay. So next thing that we have here, it's similarly you have to prove like right hand side to left hand side. Converse also same. Okay, left to right and right to left. If both are satisfied, then you can directly say that cancellation law holds good. So this R is a ring without zero divisor. If it's satisfying the cancellation law property. Okay, so next thing that we have here is all about the integral domain. So what about the integral domain? If you have already understood the concept of ring, it's very simple to get the things about the integral domain itself, right? So it's very simple. Any ring, first thing it should be the ring. If it is not ring, then you can't prove it's an integral domain. But if any R is said to be an integral domain if it is a commutative ring, right, with unity. This concept is already we have studied commutating ring with the unity with and without zero divisor. If all three conditions are satisfied by a ring, then you can say that it's a integral domain. What are those? First, it should be the commutative, then second it with unity, and third without zero divisor. Then it's a integral domain. Okay. Now in an integral domain, that's a remark here, at least two elements are required because there must be at least one non-zero element. What it's mean in case of addition, what is the element, identity element? 0. In case of multiplication, 1. That means these two elements are at least required to prove its integral, because in case of ring we have two Boolean operation, binary operation that we have to taken, right? So in case of addition there must be the 0, and in case of multiplication there must exist the 1. So that means 0 and 1 are the two necessary elements that should be there. At least these two elements should be required in integral domain, right? It's a remark, then just to make it clear. The next thing that we have here is D. We are taking the D as element to show the integral domain. You can write R or whatever you want to take. It's not fixed here, but this definition is fixed, like with the two binary operation this D is there. So you can say it's an integral domain when D is satisfying. First thing was commutative. Either you can say abelian group or commutative group, both are the same things. Okay, so next it should satisfy the semi-abelian, like with the unity. We have already mentioned the second property was with unity. That means abelian group, it should be commutative with unity. What it's mean? In case of the multiplication, we have the identity element as 1. That is the unit element itself of that set. So it should satisfy the condition of the unity also. Next thing, it should be the distributive, because if it will not be distributive, it will not be the ring itself. If it is not the ring, then how could you define it as an integral domain? So it's important to satisfy the condition of ring it as well. Okay, so along with the integral property, three properties, abelian, like commutative, unity, and without zero divisor, it is important to satisfy the condition of the distributivity also, because it's including the condition for the ring itself, right? So these are the properties that are important to cover here. Okay, so next one we have the examples, right? Set of integers in case of rings. We have it's called as an integral domain. Why? Because it is commutative ring with unity itself and without divisor. As I have already mentioned in the previous example, integer is the single one that satisfying the condition, all these conditions like commutative with unity and without divisor. That's why it's also called the integral domain. One more thing, if integer satisfying this property, then of course Rational number, real numbers, and complex number will also satisfy the same. Because of what? Because these are the subsets itself. So next thing we have here is the practice question. This is the practice question that you have to run by yourself. Here this is the Z3. This is the addition modulo 3, multiplication modulo 3. So I hope it is clear with all. So make sure you have to do the practice for the question to get this topic in good manner. So in the next lecture, we will discuss the concept of field and further topics remaining in the algebraic structure. So we will continue in the next lecture. So just revise all the things that we have discussed in the today's lecture. Then next lecture we will do continue with the field itself. Thank you. Have a nice day.